Want better tasting buds and that perfect fade? This video is all about feeding in bloom. What to cut out, what to keep, and how microbes can be your secret weapon. Come on, let's get into it, but before we do, today's video is brought to you by Real Growers Grow Dots, the easiest way to feed your high-value plants. You mix Grow Dots in once at the beginning of your grow, and they feed your plants all the way to harvest. You don't have to worry about nutrient burn or nutrient lockout. Grow Dots does all the hard work for you. Check them out over at realgrowers.com. And while you're there, use coupon code Scotty420 to get 20% off your first order. Now let's get back to the show. Come on, High C. This one's important. This is a big-time beginner mistake I see a lot with new growers.
Okay, this one is confusing to me. I always get confused when it comes to nutrients, and
Sure.
I've heard so many different stories about this.
Yeah.
And talking about flushing your plants and why you have to.
Yeah. The flushing really, from what I think about flushing is you got to worry about nitrogen. And this really isn't even about flushing. This is about reducing the nitrogen during flowering. And nitrogen gives you that green growth. When we're flowering, we want a little bit of that. We still want to be able to maintain the canopy. But for the most part, we're building flowers. So we're looking at phosphorus and potassium for flower development, being able to move all those nutrients all over the plant. So yes, it still needs nitrogen, but the ratio goes way down, and we're looking really for flower development, the P and the K and all those other nutrients.
Having too much nitrogen, I think, is what people have always told me. If you have too much, it makes your weed taste like crap.
Yeah, like people that use Miracle Grow the whole way, or a 20-20-20, where it's just equal parts of everything, super available nitrogen. Yeah, you get that green, I call it a green taste. I don't know how to...
Grass, hay,
yeah,
kinda.
and what is grass? Grass is green. That's loaded with chlorophyll, right?
Okay.
So chlorophyll has nitrogen and magnesium in it. We don't want to smoke that. We want to have that break down. Luckily, chlorophyll keeps on breaking down, building itself up, breaking down. So we want to allow it to break down during those last few weeks. And don't forget, the plant doesn't need much nitrogen then. It's not building plant material, making leaves. It's focused on making those secondary metabolites now, and those are carbon and hydrogen. It already has that from the water and the CO2, so it starts redistributing those.
So where does this idea come from that you have to flush your plants?
And having no media whatsoever, no media, no microbes. If you have neither of those, deep water culture, hydroponics, rock wool growing from back in the day.
Where my roots are like directly exposed to the water and the nutrients.
Yes, either you have no media, or with rock wool, it's rock. It's basalt rock, so it's not holding microbes. So I like to think of it as bare wire. There's no protective coating on it. So if you pour nitrogen, plant available nitrogen on it, or plant available anything, it is going to make a chemical reaction and get sucked up into that plant root.
And that is the way that you used to grow, right? You used to grow the nutrient in the water directly touching the roots.
Yep. And I used to have a doser that would put the perfect amount of fertilizer in, and the last 10 days I would have to flush because there was no buffer whatsoever. And when I say buffer, cocoa core is a buffer. It has that cation exchange capacity, ability to hold on to nutrients and release them as the plant signals it. So you have a media. And then if we want to talk about soil microbes, remember we talk about those bacteria that are able to colonize the surface of the roots. So they make this physical barrier. Remember we talk about adsorb as the nutrient particle sticks to the sticky microbe. You've got that as to where now it's able to sequester that nutrient. And then specifically with nitrogen, the microbes are cool, man. They're able to convert it into fast release and slow release nitrogen.
Okay. I want to talk about that specifically. Sure. You told me that there's nitrogen that will kind of push its way into the plant, and then there's nitrogen that it doesn't have such an easy time pushing its way in.
Yes, it's more chill, man. There's one that's a plus and there's one that's a minus, man. So the one that's a plus, very aggressively, it's pushy, wants to get right in there.
And that's ammonium nitrate?
That's ammonium. And then nitrate, that's why they combine them together. You eat a little bit of each. Nitrate's the more softer one. It's the slower one. That's how products like Canna A and B, which is something I've used a ton. I love it. It was equal parts A and B the whole time. And that's that's because they use a nice mellow nitrate fertilizer. So and they use a low ratio of nitrogen as well. You don't need a ton of nitrogen. Yeah, but the bacteria, I get all giddy when I talk about them. They're amazing, man. They're able to convert it into back and forth. So if you have ammonium, it can turn it into nitrate, and then it can turn the nitrate into in a plant available ammonium. It's neat.
And it knows what your plant needs, so it can turn it into the type of nitrogen your plant needs.
Yep. Don't forget, the microbes are getting signals from the roots. From the roots that are getting it from above ground, from the leaves and the plant itself. And keep in mind, we don't want to be loading this plant up with nitrogen late in flower, but this is just to explain why sometimes somebody will not follow directions at all and load the soil up with nitrogen at week 5 or week 6, really late into flower, and the plants still end up being beautiful. They have their fade and they don't taste like grass. The chlorophyll breaks down. So, yeah, there is something to it, and it has to do with microbes, media. I'll say specifically, start with cation exchange capacity of the media. You use something like cocoa. That at least gives you a place to hold that nutrient, and then you colonize that with microbes, specifically the bacteria, and they can sequester. They can either hold it, or they can turn it into a less plant available form or a more plant available form. So between all those mechanisms, your plant's really able to control the amount of nitrogen that it uptakes at the end.
Shout out to Recharge. I can't believe you didn't. All of my microbes, bro, I put in Recharge every week, and it does an amazing job of making sure the right nutrients get in.
Yeah. I read the comments. There's some smart growers that listen to this, all right? So I don't have to plug Recharge all the time, right? They get it, man. They know the power of microbes, and hopefully you know that Recharge is a great microbe package. And one of the last things I want to touch on is senescence.
Okay, what's that?
It's just the plant's getting older. It is so easy to understand this stuff if you think about people, all right? My wife's grandmother is 100 years old. She's not a big eater.
Yeah, you don't need as much food. Your body just kind of stops wanting
Yes.
that food.
So these plants, they're only meant to grow for a season. When it's flowering up, those last couple weeks of flowering, it knows what's happening. It's trying to get as sticky as possible to get some pollen so it can repopulate. So it is slowing down its metabolism. Don't forget, it's not magic. This plant has to send signals down, send sugar down, and it says, hey, look, feed these microbes. Let's get this nutrient up to the foliage, mostly because I got to build new foliage. It's not building new foliage. It's not building a canopy. It is just redirecting. Like I said, if you look at the cannabinoids and the terpenes, it's just hydrogen and carbon. So it's taking those from the leaf and redistributing them. So the point is, even if there is nitrogen in your media, the plant is going to stop sending signals to take it up. You've got that microbial buffer that's probably already buffered it into that real mellow, not pushy nitrate nitrogen, and now it's getting no signal from the plant, and so you're going to get much less nitrogen. If you just hammer it with nitrogen, it will end up sneaking through those microbes, and some will getting in there. But between a media and your microbes, it's a lot different than when you're talking about just flushing or reducing the nitrogen in hydroponics. So as long as you're not doing deep water culture or rock wool or some completely inert media, then you've got some tools. You've got the cocoa core, which has that cation exchange capacity to hold the nutrients. Then you've got all those microbes. They're able to convert and sequester that nitrogen. So between doing that and letting your plant naturally senesce, you're going to get a great fade. You're going to get great tasting cannabis. But that is just my 2 cents. I no longer flush my plants at the end of my harvest. But what about you? Do you still flush, and why? Let me know in the comments. And come on, you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Share this one with another grower you know. And check out the other couple of videos YouTube's recommend, and we think you'll dig them.